Wednesday. Today is Wednesday the 26th of April 2017, and I'm back for another video. So today's video I'm going to talk to you about my favorite podcast. But before I do that, I'm going to put a disclaimer in. There are probably thousands of podcasts out there, at least in the hundreds. There's a lot of podcasts out there, and there is not enough time in the day to listen to or watch every single one of them. So if you host a podcast and I don't mention you in this video, it doesn't mean I don't enjoy your podcast, or haven't watched it or listened to it or whatever. I just have only so many hours in the day. So I'm just going to tell you a handful, 11 podcasts that I enjoy watching or listening to. So let's start with non-knitting related podcasts. So first up is Explore Your Enthusiasm, which is hosted by Tara Swigert. Tara works with creative business owners to improve and make their businesses amazing. And so she does a weekly podcast. It's available via audio on iTunes, but it's available via video on YouTube. So you can choose which way you want to watch it. And I really, really enjoy her stuff. Another podcast, these ones are all audio right now. So another podcast I enjoy listening to is called The Happy Hour with Jamie Ivey. And each week she brings on a girlfriend of hers and talks about what they're doing. Most of the time it's somebody who is involved in some kind of ministry or is an author or has something that's happened in their life that they want to share about. But it's really lovely and funny, and they always end with 3 things you're loving right now and what you're reading or watching, which is so fun to hear different people's things. I've learned about all kinds of amazing things because of it. And then she also does happy half hours every other Friday, where she has somebody who's been on previously come back on, and she has a list of questions that she asks them, and it's a shorter one. The next one is Glorious in the Mundane podcast by Christy Nockels. Christy, I think I've talked about her before. Did I talk about music maybe sometime in these videos? I don't know. Anyway, Christy and her husband Nathan used to have the Christian singing group Watermark, and now Christy kind of performs on her own, and Nathan is involved in producing music. But she does this podcast that is just it touches my heart in so many ways, and so I highly recommend it. And then The Simple Show, In Love with Books, Home, and Travel, is done by Tish Oxenrider, and she has 3 other hosts that come on with her about once a month, each of them, and they talk about books, home, and travel. But Tish she and her family took a school year and traveled around the world for 9 months with her 3 kids and husband. And she just had a book come out, I think it was last week, called At Home in the World, that I have waiting in my to-be-read stack. So I really, really enjoy that. So those are some non-knitting related business podcasts. Now let me talk to you about knitting video podcasts. Sorry, the words did not want to go in the right order. Knitting video podcasts. The Knitting Broomstick with Jilly, Vegan Jilly on Ravelry. If you watch our podcast at all or follow me on social media, you've heard about Jilly. She is my BFF, best fiber friend. We just celebrated our first BFF anniversary yesterday. How cool is that? I love Jilly's podcast. She is just really down to earth. She is so in love with yarn and excited to share about so many different yarn dyers and project bag makers and stitch marker makers. She just is such a cheerleader for fiber related businesses, and I just love that. Plus, she's my BFF. So next up is Stitching the High Notes, which is done by Jo, who is Opera Jo on Ravelry, and she is a professional singer, and I just love her enthusiasm and again, love for fiber world businesses, and she talks about them and shares about them, and we get to see behind the scenes in her life as a singer, which I think I talked about earlier in this podcast, not podcast, earlier in one of these vlogs that I used to be a singer. So I love seeing that part too. Next up is Suburban Stitcher with Diane. She's DBB Stitch on Ravelry. And she has been podcasting around the same length of time as Dammy and I have. I think we're pretty close around when our podiversaries are, I think. I'm pretty sure. Now I'm questioning myself. But Diane has recently been, she started selling project bags and then recently has become a yarn dyer. But she is she was such a cheerleader for me when I did Whole30, because she has done it before as well. And she just is amazing. Just love her and the support she gave me, and yeah, just love her a lot. Next up is Love Sock Wool, which is hosted by Sarah. I don't know what her Ravelry name is. I want to say it's Love Sock Wool as well. I could be wrong. Anyway, Love Sock Wool with Sarah. She is addicted to sock knitting, and I just love it, especially because I was like, I'm never going to knit socks, and then y'all know I have, and so I just love seeing all the different socks that she's working on, and she and I have a lot in common. Yeah, she posted her 20 things about herself on Instagram in the last couple of days, and I was like, oh my gosh, we have so much in common. One thing is we'll both be turning 40 this year. So, and then All About Yarn, which is hosted by my friend Jenny. She lives in Cardiff, Wales, and she was actually at our retreat last year, and I am working on a couple of collaborations with her because she is a bag maker and yarn dyer and stitch marker maker. So stay tuned for some fun things with that. And then audio podcasts. I would be remiss not to mention the Knitmore girls. Jasmine and Gigi have been such an inspiration to Dammy and I. Their mother-daughter relationship, it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful, and it's such an amazing thing to have them as role models. Yeah, just love them so much, and they have been podcasting for eons, and I just love how honest they are about things, because they do review books and products and stuff every single week, and they're not mean or hurtful, but they are very honest about their opinions on things, and I appreciate that in a world of so much of the time we're just like, oh, it's okay, just their willingness to be honest. And then Yarn in the City, which is hosted by Rachel and Allie. They're based in London. Rachel is my tech editor for my knitting patterns, and she also taught at our last retreat, and Allie attended our last retreat, and Dammy and I also vended at Yarnporium, which was an event they held just before our retreat last year in London, and they're also the hosts of the Great London Yarn Crawl, which Dammy and I have done, and just love them. They're friends. They're some friends of ours, and they're great friends too, and it's just lovely to listen to their journeys and what's going on in their life, in their world, but they also share with us stuff that's going on in London yarn-wise, and it's just lovely. So there you go. There are 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 11 podcasts that I watch or listen to. Yeah, I will put links to all of these down below, so if you want to start watching or listening to them, you can. And why don't you tell me, what are your favorite podcasts to watch or listen to? This is not all of them that I watch and listen to, but these, I didn't want to talk about 30 gazillion of them. I don't watch that many, listen to that many. I probably watch and listen to maybe like a dozen and a half, maybe around 18 total. So, some of them aren't really consistent and regular, so, or are on hiatus or whatever. So, but tell me, what are your favorite podcasts to watch and listen to, or listen to down below. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. All right, I'll be back tomorrow. What am I talking about tomorrow? I'm answering another viewer question about my time as a hospital chaplain. So I look forward to sharing that with y'all. All right, we have to record the podcast. Oh, yeah. If you don't watch our podcast, the Geeky Girls Knit Podcast, it's available on YouTube as well as iTunes. And we are coming up close on our 250th episode. That'll happen sometime this summer. We have been podcasting for 5 years at the end of August. And we love, love, love doing it on a weekly basis and sharing our lives with y'all. So if you don't watch us, you should. I'm not biased at all. All right. Have a great Wednesday, and I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Bye.